is Jordan, and today I'm going to be talking about the books that I wish that I read this year for Bookmas Day 6. I've been so behind on newly releases that I've been reading other books that literally come out before this year, and I've just been not paying attention to whatever other people have been reading, but I've been mostly reading the books that I've been in the mood for. But I don't want to talk about all the books that I wish that I read this year, but I'm mostly going to be talking about the 2018 releases that I wish that I read this year. So let's get started. These are no particular order, but the first one I'm going to be talking about is Children of Blood and Bone by Tomi and Yami. I wish that I'd read this book this year. I know this is one of the most hyped books, and it's based on mythology, and I wanted to read this book, but I haven't, and I'm sorry for those of you who are like, wow, Jordan, why didn't you read it when it first came out? I wanted to, but I wasn't in a mood to buy it. Yes, I'm a mood book buyer, but that's not the point. This is going to be on top of my TBR for next year if I don't read it at the end of this year, so I definitely want to read it and see what the hype's all about, and I know the sequel is coming out this next year, so I definitely want to read it before it does. The next book that I haven't read this year is To Kill a Kingdom by Christina Cristo. I know this is the Little Mermaid retelling. I already read Sea Witch, which is also a retelling of the Little Mermaid, but about the villain. But I did not read this book this year, and it really hurts me because this grabbed my attention before Sea Witch. Well, Sea Witch was one of my most anticipated releases, but I know some people have read it. I think a few people have read it and end up liking it, so hopefully I will read this for a fairy tale-a-thon, because there's going to be round 2. Again, I mentioned it in one of my videos before, that the announcement video will be upcoming soon, but I don't know when, so this might be my top read for that readathon. The next book I'm going to be talking about is Legendary by Stephanie Garber. This is the second book of the Caraval trilogy, and I have not picked this up, but it's on my TBR right now, so hopefully I'll read this before the year ends, the time I'm filming it, but I want to read it so badly. I'm trying to read this on audiobook because I read the first book on audiobook, but my library does not have it for whatever reason, so I gotta read it physically, but hopefully I'll read it really quickly, even though it's like really long. I think it's about 500 pages, so hopefully I'll get to this really quickly, because this is one of my most anticipated releases of this year, and yet I haven't read it yet. The next book I'm going to be talking about is Everless by Sarah Holland. I know this book literally came out the first week this year, and it's a fantasy that deals with time, which really grabbed my interest, but I did not get to this book. I've heard mixed reviews about it, but I don't usually look at reviews before I read the books because I don't want to be hesitant to read because of it, but I'm giving this a chance because it seems like a fantasy book that I end up really liking. The next book I'm hoping that I wish that I've read this year is Fairyborn by Claire Legrand, and this is one of those fantasy books that really grabbed my interest because it has two characters from different time periods telling the story, and it just really grabbed my interest, and I want to read this really badly. Plus, the cover's beautiful, and is there something underneath the jacket? No, I was wrong, but I wanted to read this since I've heard about it from, I forgot which booktube channel it was, but I really want to read this, and I didn't get a chance to read it, and maybe this will be on top of my TBR for next year, but I want to read this so badly because I think a lot of books on this list is one of the books that I really going to be on top of my TBR for next year. The next book I'm going to be talking about is Sky in the Deep by Andrea Young. I want to read this book so badly, but it's also on my TBR for this month, so hopefully I'll get to this before the year ends, because it's a Viking story, which I really want to read because my ancestors were Vikings, and I want to see how the story goes because I'm really curious about it, especially when this girl finds out that her brother is fighting with the enemy when he's supposed to be dead, and this book, I'm hoping to get to it because I would be really mad at myself if I didn't, especially when they have Vikings in it. The next book I'm going to be talking about is Ash Princess by Laura Sebastian, and this is again another fantasy book that I really want to read, and the concept of the story is really seems like it's in this is another fantasy book that really grabbed my interest, but I did not pick it up yet for whatever reason, and I got this for my birthday, I think, and I would feel bad if I don't end up reading it because my parents gave it to me, and I want to read this and give it a chance before I'm like, this book seems it's not for me, and I would unhaul it, which I don't want to do. So I want to give this a chance, and again, this might be on top of my TBR for next year, like every other book on my TBR. The next book I'm going to be talking about is The Bells by Danielle Clayton, and again, this is another book that I really wanted to read this year, but somehow I didn't get a chance to read it, and because I saw this on Epic Reads saying that if you like Black Panther, and they give you a huge list of books to read based on liking Black Panther, and I decided to pick this up because it seems like a book that I really want to read. Plus, they have a map of the world, and it's really pretty and pink, and I did not get to this book, and again, I'm really mad at myself for it because I wanted to read it, but I haven't yet. So, again, another book that's probably going to be on top of my TBR, but I'm not sure yet. The book I'm going to be talking about is Ace of Shades by Amanda Foody. I just read Daughters of a Burning City by her, and I end up really enjoying it, but I did not pick this up. I'm like wanting to read it because of the concept of the story, and plus I discovered that I liked her books, and the sequel's coming out next year, so it's gonna kick my butt if I don't read it. But I definitely, again, I wished I read this year, but I didn't for whatever reason. The last book I'm going to be talking about is My Plain Jane by the Lady Janies. But the reason I haven't read it is because, like, I know people say, like, you don't have to read My Lady Jane before My Plain Jane, but I decided to do that because that's technically the first book of a series, even though the sequel doesn't follow the same characters. But I just got this book, and I decided to read My Lady Jane, and I ended up enjoying it, so I'm like, maybe I shouldn't rush myself to read the sequels, just like one of the other books that I have on my TBR that has a sequel coming out next year, but I'm still going to be kicking myself for not reading these books because I wanted to get to them, but for whatever reason I didn't. But with My Plain Jane, I'm going to be listening to this on audiobook like I did with My Lady Jane, which really helps me enjoy this story better, especially with different characters' perspectives, which I definitely really like, and again, hopefully I'll get to this next year. If not, I'll be kicking myself for it. So that's all for the books that I wish that I've read this year. If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up and comment down below some books that you didn't get a chance to read this year that you really wish you did, because this is a lot of books that I wish that I read this year but I didn't, and I'm be kicking myself for it because I did not do that. But if you want to follow me on social media, I have Facebook under Lost Reader, and I have Twitter and Instagram on LostReader19. I also have Goodreads, which I'll link down below. If you don't want to miss any of my new videos, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!